Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, building experiences that connect, remove friction, and deliver insights. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Russ Hawkins. Russ is the president and CEO of the leading data technology company Agilence. Russ has spent over 35 years in the technology industry, helping established organizations and small startups reach their full potential by driving change from the inside. Russ is responsible for developing the overall strategy and leading the growth of SAAS Analytics and Reporting company Agilence, which helps retailers, grocers, and restaurants improve their operational effectiveness and uncover preventable losses using the data already in their hands. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Russ Hawkins.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
So, Russ, first question, as always, is why do you do what you do?
Well, in a word, because I get a rush out of building organizations and building companies. I've been working my whole life, and when I first got into business after college. My first experience was as a salesperson, which is as close to running your own business that you can have without having to put up capital. And I just get a thrill out of it. I get a thrill out of developing my territory. Now I get a thrill out of developing people. Really, at the end of the day, is what it comes down to. And it's exciting for me to build things. I just get a thrill out of doing it.
Well, one of the topics I wanted to explore with you today is the future of retail. So what are your thoughts on what is the future of retail?
Well, retail is an exciting and ever-changing marketplace. It's well known, the growth of e-commerce, and there's a lot of pundits out there that talk about the death of retail and the death of bricks and mortar retail. I think that's absolutely wrong. The absolute opposite is true. Bricks and mortar retail is thriving. Even the biggest e-com companies in the world are going bricks and mortar. Amazon, for example, that's opening up hundreds of stores and bought Whole Foods and others. So I think retail is evolving into more of a multi-headed organism than strictly the old idea of having a single location and selling goods and services. Most companies that I work with think of them as all interrelated. The multiple e-com sites, multiple bricks and mortar, the lines between what's distribution and what's retail space are blurring. Companies are using their stores as fulfillment centers. So we're seeing a dramatic number of changes that have been brought on, first by the evolution of technology and more recently and accelerated by the pandemic. So I think retail, bricks and mortar retail is here to stay. E-com is here to stay. Even today, e-com's about 15%. I think that grows to maybe 20, 25%. But people want to get out into stores. People want shoppertainment, as I like to call it. They get joy out of being out in the stores and shopping. I have two daughters and a wife, and let me tell you, they don't buy a lot online. They don't buy clothing online because they just love going to the stores and doing it. And so I think you're going to see a continued evolution. I think you're going to see more and more entertainment mixed in with the shopping experience. And I think it has a very robust future.
Well, that leads to an interesting question that I was thinking about while you were talking there. And that is, if I place an order at my local Whole Foods that I go pick up, is that considered retail or is that considered online?
That's considered retail. Even online, I think, is considered retail. So, if you're doing a retail purchase. Today, it's all inclusive, and when I think of the market, I think of it as one integrated whole.
So then, at a certain point, if Amazon opens more stores, then that would be considered retail as well, even though
absolutely. Amazon is opening stores. Amazon's opening stores as we speak. They're one of the biggest drivers of self-service technology in the industry. They're having some mixed results, frankly, with it. But they're pushing the envelope and they're experimenting, and I think you're going to see that. You're going to see that continue. And another example would be somebody like a Warby Parker. Warby Parker was started as an online business only. And after they had a very successful initial run, but they determined that they were only going to be able to get to single-digit percentages of the market by continuing an e-com only approach. Now, glasses are one of those things that people like to try on, but they went out and raised money, and they're in the process of opening 1,000 stores. So I think you're going to see more and more of that. And as I mentioned earlier, people owners of these businesses start to think of them as these big integrated organisms.
You talked a little bit about shop attainment or retail shop attainment. Would the pioneer be once again, going back 20 years, Disney in that with their concept of downtown Disney is really just a mall.
Absolutely. They're one of the best. They've been one of the groundbreakers, and they're one of the best at it. They understand that people like to be mentally engaged, and they like to be amused by their experience, and there's kind of a psychic reward for that over and above the good or service that they're buying.
Interesting. So you would expect to see more malls maybe expand on that Disney theme of maybe bringing more entertainment into the mall area?
Absolutely. I think we're seeing it today. We're seeing it happen in New Jersey at the American Dream Mall. The integration of not just pure entertainment things like movie theaters, amusement parks, and those kinds of things, but also just having a fun environment, and more restaurants. But to be quite honest, a mixed use facility rather than strictly a place where retail bricks and mortar stores are lined up.
And Russ, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
Well, I'm a big fan of presidents, of U.S. presidents. I'm close to the end of a major multi-year project of reading the definitive biographies of presidents in order, in the order in which they served the country. And so I've got a lot of great thoughts about presidents, but one of my favorite is Teddy Roosevelt. And what I liked about Teddy Roosevelt, and I think it's a good thing to remember, is he had a clear goal in his own mind. I'm all about goals. I'm all about short-term goals. I'm all about long-term goals. I'm all about big, hairy, visionary goals as well. And that guy had it. He had a goal. He was a very wealthy man who was born into a very wealthy family, but his life was all about being part of the ruling class, if you will, and that's because he had a huge set of goals and objectives that he wanted to accomplish, and he stayed true to them most of his life. And so I think that's a good skill to have, and it's something I like to have.
And lastly, Russ, how can somebody contact you?
So I'm Russ Hawkins. I'm available at rhawkins@agilenceinc.com. And I'd love to hear from your listeners.
All right. Russ Hawkins, President and CEO of Agilence. Thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thank you, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.